Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Resident Rulebreakers. My name is Kayla.
And I'm Camille.
And it's been 2 weeks since our last podcast. The episode where we watched this week to discuss was episode 205, and that's called The Germ, written by Elizabeth Klaviter and Jann Klein. And it was directed by Jann Turner. The show is officially in production for season 5.
Yep, they finally started moving.
They actually started not on the 12th, but on the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. Officially. We've gotten some BTS from Manish and Tasso and some from Amy, actually. She posted a photo of Matt and Manish on set. While they're in their COVID protocols, they're still wearing masks on set. They're still doing social distancing, even though they're vaccinated. It's just a precaution of everything that they're having to deal with. It's a union rule to keep things from happening. Plus, they film in Georgia, a state that's like got a 40% vaccination rate. So just there's a multitude of scenarios that are going on. They're still having.
Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. People are dumbasses. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say this right now. Like, we've been dealing with this virus for like over a year or whatever, and like they now have like new variants, which is the Delta, the Lambda variant.
Yep. And there's a lot of factors involved with their decision to continue these protocols, even though they're vaccinated. So just don't judge them for this or anything. And I know that people are worried because there's the casting call came out about the baby that's supposed to, or babies that are supposed to play Gigi or whatever, and how they're supposed to deal with it. But the fact is, these babies have a very limited amount of time that they can actually work, and they're going to be around a very limited amount of people. So I think that's kind of the deal with that. They're not going to be newborns. They're going to be 6 to 12 months, which is way past that. So, and the ones complaining about that, there's supposed to be a time jump. I mean, we have 4 months of hiatus. They could easily pull a time jump here that's a couple more months out. Anyway, that's just kind of the stuff we've seen on social media over the past 2 weeks. So wanted to bring all that up. We also, over the past 2 weeks, broke a download milestone of 15,000 downloads since we started the podcast.
Thank you guys for listening and watching us.
In, I think it was 54 days, we had 1,000 downloads. From our 14,000 download milestone to our 15,000. It was 54 days. So thank you guys. Thank you a lot.
Yep.
And I think, we'll go back to a weekly podcast as the show returns in September. So it'll be back to that. It's just, and considering we're doing two a month, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah. And considering I have a second podcast, I'm like literally doing like triple work.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm excited. Like, I might have to like cut back on something when the season starts again, but
no official premiere date. It'll probably happen, and I'd say in about 3 to 4 weeks. So that's my prediction. They have to get some footage from first 2 or 3 episodes, which they're probably in the middle of filming the first episode right now. So give them some footage and enough time to be able to put a promo together, which, by the way, editing is not easy, especially video. So give them time. And then they'll set a release date, which will probably be one of the last 2 weeks of September. So that's just a prediction. I've seen other networks go ahead and reveal things, but Fox has been very silent on that scenario. So, but believe me, when they release it, it usually flies across every entertainment site imaginable. You will know. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard to find. So there's all that information. There's quite a few things that I forgot about this episode when I rewatched it. One, obviously the Barnetts. This is their first episode.
Yeah.
Bradley's in it, so Steven's in this episode. We interviewed Steven last summer, and we talked exclusively about Bradley's plot line from everything. And this episode was definitely brought up because he has heart surgery for the heart valve that ultimately killed him. That's in this episode. Another Gilmore Girls connection. The lady that played Mrs. Kim in Gilmore Girls is in this. Emily Kuroda. She's in this episode. So.
Yep. Go see her.
Yeah. 2 weeks of Gilmore Girls connections here.
I know. I'm actually excited about. I just finished watching this episode, and I have to say, I cried watching it.
I always cry. I always cry when I watch the Germ.
I know.
Jasper's death. I mean, it's a little kid, and he's had a traumatic life as it is. He had leukemia, and he went in remission, and then it came back, and that was kind of his death sentence because they couldn't cure it anymore. And actually, he didn't actually die from the cancer coming back. It was a brain bleed, if I remember correctly. But it's sad.
At least the great thing about it was that the doctors actually did their did such a great job at least uplifting him and getting his wish to come true of having a cop themed
he got to have a final birthday party.
That's so awesome. I mean, it reminds me of when I was a kid. I had surgery and I was 8 years old. I was 7 or 8 years old. It was my first surgery, major surgery that I can remember anyway. And I ended up staying in the hospital for 45 days. And when the doctor finally said, you can leave, the day before I left, all of the nurses, everyone in the ward who helped me for 45 days, they threw me a surprise goodbye party. And that's the kind of what you do when it's kids who you get close to, it's in and out of the hospital all the time because you developed a relationship with them or whatever, is that you kind of want to celebrate with them when it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have extended stays in hospitals as a kid, even with the medical issues I have, even with the seizure disorder. I ended up doing outpatient tests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to I've never had surgery on my brain or anything. I had surgery on my ears, which was outpatient.
But so you can somewhat relate to Henry. Do your seizures look like him?
Here's the thing, and I know a little, obviously, because I've survived childhood epilepsy. The thing is, absence seizures, or staring seizures, as they're called, that's what I called them. They're very common in children, and a lot of children grow out of them. But I ended up developing the grand mal big seizures that knocked me unconscious.
That's a shaking one.
Yeah, the shaking one. The ones that I ended up getting as a teenager. While I was going through puberty. Yeah. And that's out, but I was on medicine from the time I was about 7. So Henry was a little older than that too. So they don't really medicate you until you're about 6 or 7 years old. They just don't do it. Mainly because the medicine really messes with your brain activity.
Yeah.
It depresses it and it makes you sleepy, by the way.
Yeah.
Major side effect that I deal with every day of my life. But yes, I can relate to Henry a lot. I had a lot of absence seizures before I was on medicine, and they affected my ability to do schoolwork. They affected my ability to focus in class, and my grades. So as a first grader, so my teacher had no clue what they were until my dad explained it to her. So I do relate. I do relate big time. I always felt for Henry. I didn't have his were so bad he had to have a device implanted. That's not medicine stopped mine. So I got lucky.
Do you really? I personally don't think that his was so bad to need medication, but maybe I'm just wrong on that because I felt he
was on 2 or 3 different medicines. I'm on 1.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So if you're on 2 or 3 different medicines and it's not controlled, they have to look for alternatives. That's just the way it is. But
that's why they had the VNS.
Yeah, and I don't really know the statistics on childhood epilepsy, but I know from all epilepsy in general, 1 out of every 26 people will have some form of epilepsy in their lifetime. So it's a very common disease, and I'm glad they touched on it because it's still got a stigma. But yeah, I've been that kid, not in the hospital stays and everything, but definitely felt for him.
Yep.
And even had the single parent. Yeah. Except I had a dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been there. Okay. But yeah, watching his little brother die.
Traumatic.
Oh, and then he's just traumatic experience. I can't even imagine what, like, they even mentioned it later, like this woman can't lose both her kids, kind of thing. Yep. Later in the series,
she also like divorced her husband or something.
Yes,
or her husband left her
in the midst
too.
of all this. Yes.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. It's like, chronically ill children or whatever. The whole, I feel like, kids with chronic illness or sick children or whatever, it is a test. It's like, it's hard to stay in a relationship with, you know what I mean? It's a big test for relationships.
It is. But yeah, the Jasper dying, I cried my eyeballs out, and then I felt so bad for Henry and that storyline. I really connected to it, and I really loved. But I do wish that they had talked more about how the device wasn't always the option.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I understand that disease. I have it. I don't want them to say, people who don't understand epilepsy or haven't had any experience with it, to think that the device is always the option. That's a very extreme scenario.
Yeah.
You have to have really uncontrolled seizure disorder for them to even think about putting a VNS device in, or doing surgery. So,
yeah.
So just bringing that one up. Wish they had talked about that more. But yeah, they came through. They mentioned Make-A-Wish, which is obviously a organization that makes children who are dying's wishes come true. Obviously, not the full extent, but they did get help from them with the cop car stuff, the lights and stuff. But they did a really amazing job. It was Conrad, Nina, Jessica, Irving, and Devin. They all stepped in.
And that was the cutest thing ever when they did that. I like literally was crying when I that was just like, that was just adorable. I'm gonna start crying again. But seriously, I was sad for I was sad for the boy and also happy at the same time and stuff. And I just love Henry. Henry's such a good big brother, He was like, this is what Jasper wants, is like a cop party. He made a little badge and everything. It's just adorable. Oh.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it really is. And Conrad's in there on the police shirt, and I love the scene where they were prepping it, and Jessica has the handcuffs, and they're like, where did you get fully functioning?
I love that scene.
And she just looks at Irving, and yeah, they're definitely were trying to hint at something happening between them before we knew something was happening between them.
Yeah.
So,
we knew there was something happening between them.
Yeah. But yeah, that was really funny. But they did the ketchup and the gloves and the Band-Aid, and yeah, it was cute. It was really cute. And then Irving just, it gave Tasso a time to show his comedic skills more, I guess.
Yeah.
You really wouldn't know it was Tasso except for the fact that who else would it have been? So.
The wild makeup in here too for him to dress up like the Germ is hilarious.
Yeah,
it's so hilarious.
Yeah,
I laughed so much at that one.
Yeah, good plot line, and I definitely connected to it. It definitely made me cry. Multitude of things here with that, but then the reason why some of the other plot lines take place in this episode is Belle at the beginning of the episode is at a party with Gordon Page, and he makes a deal for 25% decrease on Quo Vadis devices in the hospital. So obviously that Quo Vadis was kind of the main villain storyline of this season, and we learn later that only did the heart valve that Bradley gets in this episode kill him, that VNS device almost killed Henry. So
yeah, I wonder how Miss Kim is dealing with her spinal thingamajig.
I don't know. They never revisited that one.
I'm curious to know to see how if she's walking or whatever, dealing with any like.
Because in that episode they had to do emergency surgery because she went numb below the waist, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wait. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the Dr. Val, AJ, and Kit in the office, and they both barge in, and like I start yelling at Belle because he like snuck in all these Quo Vadis devices in their ORs, and Belle is like, "You both agree on something for the first time ever."
Yeah, they're on the same page for the first time ever, and AJ's like, I want this specific valve, and Kit's like, I just want the right screw that I can put in. I know that's gonna work or whatever. Yeah. And because devices are like they say, like the entire plot line was pretty much that these devices aren't regulated properly. Yeah. And the FDA or whatever, when they they just go off an old patent and they don't regulate the actual device to see if it actually works. And Quo Vadis was doing some other crazy things like importing them from like China or whatever, and then saying they were made in America, which they weren't. There was a multitude of other things that was going on, but
no, like they had the guys, they were like literally, I was cracking up the whole time too, because like you said, they never agreed, they never like up to that point they never got along really, AJ and Kit, and then like AJ all of a sudden starts yelling, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why is he yelling? He's like,
Malcolm does it so well.
Huh?
Malcolm's the way he portrayed it, like reacted, is he does it so hilarious and so funny. But they actually in the episode, like he accidentally like fractures one of his arm bones, and he doesn't have to have surgery or a cast or anything, but it's enough to where he has to be in a splint for a while until Kit can clear him to do surgery. So. Yeah.
But it was funny watching that whole scene where he just starts yelling. He's like, I have a bomb inside me. And I'm like, what is going on? He was so dramatic with that scene. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yep. And, but yeah, I love that. But, speaking of AJ doing surgery, this episode is pretty much the surgery he performs is Bradley, but it takes you pretty much to the end of the step. But the fact is, AJ is against putting the Quo Vadis valve in, but Bradley actually works for Quo Vadis. He ended up paying off all his medical school debt, and he's making a mid-six-figure range. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
And living obviously very comfortably. And, but the thing is, he needs a heart valve because his heart was like, he had this what a piece of whatever it was in his heart.
That's what like made him faint off the roof. You remember?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So he needed it. He needed it.
Yeah, he needed it because he had like heart disease before all that, right? Something. Yeah. Okay.
And then he now works for Quo Vadis, which is why he wanted the Quo Vadis device, even though that's the other funny part. Oh my God, AJ totally. Malcolm just killed me in this episode from laughing so hard. But like, AJ was trying to persuade Bradley that like Quo Vadis was bad for him or whatever. It was so hilarious watching him. And then Steven is like, what is wrong with him?
Because that's the first time that they had a scene together, like where he was awake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first episode that Malcolm was in was this episode that Steven or Bradley fell through the skylight.
False.
So yeah. Yeah. So
that is too funny.
Yeah, it really is. But what AJ makes the decision to use the Quo Vadis valve is his mentor says that it's a good valve. But the fact is Abe has been paid off by Quo Vadis to say that. So and we learned that in the episode, but AJ doesn't find out till many episodes later.
Yeah.
And then, fusses at Abe for it. So the thing is, when you see that because Bradley dies in 211. In 211, you see them or not, or 212, 213, wherever they're testing that valve to prove that it was the valve that was defective and not AJ's wrongful insertion. They try to prove, but in this episode you see AJ be very forceful with the valve and actually almost put it in backwards. So Mina and Julian, and why Julian's in the OR I'll never know, but Mina and Julian both go, AJ, it's backwards. Maybe he should learn to listen to the women in his life.
Oh my god, it's too funny. No, I just feel like do sales reps actually join people in the ORs in real life like that?
I don't know. I mean, they put it in the show. I mean, I'd love to see some more factual evidence that this happens, and and this isn't for dramatization of some form, but I don't know.
And then also, like, is the patient signing off on having the sales rep in the OR too?
But the fact is, this is Bradley we're talking about. He already works for Quo Vadis. This is another sales rep that works for the same company. I don't know.
But this isn't the first OR that she's in. Because I remember remember the first episode. Mm-hmm. She was like telling Bell which thing to use, like he doesn't know how, which instrument to use on his own. If he doesn't know what instrument he is supposed to use without a sales rep telling him, then I don't think he should have been a doctor. But anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, so it takes Abe to change AJ's mind, and of course AJ regrets that decision when later on. But and it ends up killing our beloved Bradley.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Bradley, you should listen to the doctor, not to your boss. Your boss isn't a doctor.
And then, of course, Mina, they slightly reference with Bradley that Mina's in a relationship with Micah. They just gradually, glaze over that.
Yeah.
But, you can see that, still the tension's there between AJ and Mina in the OR scenes. You can still see that in there. But Bradley gradually references Micah. But the thing that got me the most was he noticed the connection between Devon and Julian, immediately. and he looks at Mina and goes, "Is there something going on here I'm not aware of?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't trust her." But the fact is, she really shouldn't have trusted Devon at all, because Devon is the one that kind of sort of initiated that kiss for.
Yeah.
They referenced the heart monitoring app in the episode too, but
what was the last thing you heard about?
I'm sitting here thinking that heart monitoring app makes no sense. They they're so easy accessible, these wearables. Like I have a Fitbit. Fitbits monitor your heart rate. There's really no reason for that app, because the app that comes with it monitors your heart rate.
Yeah.
So sorry, it just really, I don't know.
It's redundant.
Yeah, it's redundant.
Yeah, it's just crazy. A little bit.
Just bringing that one up, because I sat there thinking to myself, my Fitbit does the exact same thing. Anyway, there was very little Conrad and Nick in this episode, but there were a few touches and glances at each other, just to remind people that they are in a relationship or whatever.
Yeah,
people can forget. But because they were more focused on being doctor and nurse to this family than they were on their relationship. So I'm actually okay with that. Sometimes that relationship needs to go behind that, and they just need to be doctor and nurse.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's like, I feel like their love storyline or whatever gets overwhelmed, like overwhelms her, like
it overwhelms the rest of the show.
Yes.
Yeah. So some, like, I love Conrad and Nick. I do. I absolutely love them. But sometimes I just need to show them as being a doctor and a nurse, and not kind as a husband and wife, or in this case, boyfriend and girlfriend.
Not as conic. Instead, show them as Dr. Hawkins and Nurse Devon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But so the massage therapist that Kit gets Belle. That shows like that's like old school Belle misogynistic, where he's like, I want a female massage therapist next time, and Kit plays into the fact that Belle is like that and uses it against him. So in the way, like, she knows that about him, but I'm glad he changed, because that part of him really was getting old.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this episode, Kit plays his misogyny against him. So
yeah.
Clever woman.
I remember his secretary. He told his secretary, "Oh, we get 2 hours or whatever." And he walks in. He's like, "It's a male," and he's like, "Are we serious here?" I'm like, "Dude, what were you? I
wanted to bring. I was like, "This is old school Belle." They're trying to show that. So, I don't miss that part of his character at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one of the last episodes that really appears, because after he sees Nick's sister begin to decline and sees the Klaviter's devices begin to cause issues for Henry, he begins to change.
Yep.
Yeah, that's when it really began to happen. So, okay, so we're done with the discussion on the episode. Our upcoming podcast right now, because we don't know when the show is coming back officially, or can only say that we only have 3 podcasts left scheduled right now. August 9th, which is in 2 weeks. That's 207. That's Trial and Error. August 23rd, which will be 208, which is Heart in a Box. Trial and Error is the drug trial that makes Jesse die eventually. It's also the episode where Devon and Julian kiss. And 208, Nina and AJ do a heart transplant. And then 209 is the non-wedding of Devon and Priya. So
and I can't wait till we talk about the non-wedding of Devon and Priya, because we get to talk about the number one subject that has yet to be picked up again, which is Conrad's mom. The promised conversation that never happened.
Oh yeah, because it was at the end of the dance where Marshall goes into surgery. That's right. But yeah, so we're going to be discussing a lot of stuff in those 3 episodes, but we're going to hold out to fully schedule September, because we don't know exactly when the show is coming back. So when we do, believe me, you'll see a full, bigger slate for September make its appearance. I need to hold out for them to confirm. That's kind of what I'm waiting on. There's that. We have a Patreon account. So if you listen to the podcast every time we release one, and you want to make sure that, we keep it running and everything, you can, as little as $1 a month, support us on Patreon. Try to post BTS stuff. I've been doing a little bit better recently. Yep. But you'll get the podcast a couple hours earlier than the rest of the world. I've been doing that. So there's also that. So there's some good perks there if you're listening to that. There's that. And it will go to funding the hosting and new equipment and stuff like that. So there's that.
Yeah. I also host Hallmark Heartbeats podcast, which is a podcast all about Hallmark movies. I get to interview several actors some Hallmark actors as well. So like this week, I just released an interview with Catherine Cahoot. And then next month, I have 2 interviews lined up as well. So it's fun. You can listen to it. If you're a fan of Hallmark movies, you can listen to it on all platforms, like everything. I'm on pretty much every platform you can you can listen to a podcast. I'm on it. So yeah.
We are on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube. Ways you can contact us. We have an email. It's the residentrulebreakers@gmail.com.
Yep. Also, don't be rude to us and expect us to be nice back. Like, don't be rude to us and be like, and then when we clap back at you, be like, you're being rude. Like, you were being rude first. Did you expect
You will get blocked. If you cyber bully us, we will block you. That's for any of our social media. That's for the Facebook group. That's for anything. Cyber bullying is not tolerated.
I will cuss you.
Camille will. I won't, but Camille will.
Kayla, if you get a nice response, that's Kayla. If you get someone cussing you out, that's Camille. Okay.
But no.
Like, seriously.
Just... here's the thing. I love most of the people in the fandom. For the most part, it's a really nice
we have
fandom.
We've had like, for some reason, I don't know why, but like we've gotten like some people attacking us on social media recently, and we're all just sitting there going like, what is it jealousy going on? Are people bored now? What? Because all of a sudden, like now people are like coming at both of us, like, you guys do this, you guys do that, and I'm sitting there going like, nobody asked you,
But no, any of our social media, like I can promise you, if you are rude, we'll block you.
Yeah,
we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
Our mental health is way more important than
we don't get paid for this crap.
No,
we're not gonna deal with someone bullying us, period. There's not enough money in the world, and also we're not affiliated with the show, so if you try to report us to the show or whatever, good luck.
yeah, we're fans, and here's the thing, they know that, like, the show, they are aware of it, and they are aware that we're fans, so yeah.
And they're aware of our podcast. So, like, trust me, you're not going to.
Obviously, I've mentioned we have other social media. We have Facebook. We have a page. We have the Facebook group, the Resident Fox Fans. The page is the Resident Rulebreakers podcast. They're linked to each other, so the easy access between them.
Yeah.
The group has questions before you can be entered into the group. You need to answer all 4 of them, or you will be declined. If your answers are a little questionable, like, I just started the show and I haven't seen it yet, I'm a little question why you want to be in a group where we blatantly talk first about spoilers on the show.
Yeah.
Why would you want to read about what's happening when you haven't started it yet? So that's
probably
just my yeah.
I hate it when people join groups like that, because then they start complaining that they haven't seen that episode yet. Why are we talking about it?
The only time the Resident Fox Fans has a spoiler policy is 24 hours after the original broadcast in the United States.
Yep. Been like that from the beginning. And we're not going to wait till it airs around the world, because then we would be waiting forever.
Yeah, there are countries in Europe still airing season 3.
Yeah. Like,
so no, we're not going to wait for you, okay? So, Instagram, we have at the Resident Podcast. That's our podcast Instagram. Camille has at the Resident Fox Fans. Sometimes she'll post stuff. I mean, sometimes we will too. Like, I posted that BTS photo Amy posted.
Yeah.
But sometimes Camille will post certain things. But the best place to get BTS is that group. We will pull it off of stories or something if the cast posts or a post or whatever, and put it in that group. So if you want to find out what's happening on set, that group is the place. The Facebook group is the place to be.
Yep.
And then I have my personal, which is at KBCountry37. So we also have our Twitter account, which is at Resident Podcast. So there's that as well.
Yeah, we haven't been really active on that account.
No, so in 2 weeks, we'll be discussing Trial and Error, episode 207. You notice we've skipped an episode. That's the Halloween episode 206. We've already done it. We did it last October. And it's also August. And as much as I love Halloween, I don't really want to watch a Halloween episode right now.
I know. But we already did like the Halloween
already did it.
Episodes. Yeah.
My hope is that they actually do one this year.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So until August 9th, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Camille. Bye.
Bye.